Our planet's coastlines are under constant threat. Urbanization, unchecked aquaculture, and climate change are rapidly degrading vital ecosystems like mangroves, which protect shorelines and support biodiversity. In Southeast Asia, these challenges are particularly pressing, putting entire communities at risk. To combat this, advanced Earth observation technologies are being employed to map, monitor, and restore these critical habitats. In Sarawak, driven by his dedication as an academician, a humble leader has emerged in this effort. Meet Professor Dr. Moritz Muller and his team at Saraqube.
So our main focus, I think, is data. We are providing data analysis at a scientific high level, and we provide data that people can use and stakeholders can interpret. We provide the analysis, we provide the deeper meaning to the data. So we work a lot with satellite data. We use satellites and then we develop the localized algorithms. So we go onto the ground, we measure the parameters of interest, may it be tree cover, may it be water quality. We measure them on the ground and then we correlate them to what the satellite sees, and then we can correct the mathematics between the ground and the reality, or the satellite and the reality.
The use of Earth observation technology in coastal management offers precise, real-time data that enables targeted conservation efforts and supports sustainable development. This technology informs policy decisions, enhances climate resilience, and opens opportunities in the blue carbon market, benefiting both the environment and local communities. For these benefits to be fully realized, government agencies must take a proactive role in adopting and integrating these technologies into national strategies, ensuring that conservation efforts are well coordinated, adequately funded, and effectively implemented.
So I think one of the big challenges we have in Sarawak is really the vast land, the access to areas which are so hard to explore. If you look at the access to the rivers and the mountains and the forests and the ocean, is very, very difficult. So I think satellites gives you the access to actually do this whole spatial area and also temporal resolution. I think that's one of the big advantages of using satellites in Sarawak. I think the big picture is the governments and agencies. So you can do large-scale monitoring of national parks. You can look at land use maps. You can develop area maps for zonations. Where would you have a national park? Where would it be suitable to have biodiversity hotspots or biodiversity protection? You can look at companies. So companies may want to monitor their aquaculture system. So with all the data that we get from the satellites, we can look at trying to predict how the environment will change. So if there is a bloom of harmful algae coming up, which will threaten the fish culture, for example, we are able to predict this 2-3 days in advance, and they could then take action before the impact hits the company. You could look at farmers who are interested in looking at their water use. How much water does the plantation need? How is the yield? How much yield is predicted? You could look at forestry managers. How much carbon is in your stock? Which areas do you need to cut down? The applications are quite limitless, really. Depends on your interest. As long as we can measure it, we can analyze it.
For checking water quality measurement, they've installed a logger at Telaga Air to continuously gather data on various water quality parameters. This logger provides real-time information on factors such as temperature, pH, and dissolved oxygen levels.
This is the logger that we have been installed in one of the jetty in Sarawak, Kuching, at Telaga Air. So these particular loggers collect in situ measurements every 15 minutes. So which means every 15 minutes it collects data and then upload to the cloud, and we are able to access all the data in real time using the online platform. And these particular loggers collect a wide range of water parameters such as total dissolved solid, total suspended solids, FDOM, salinity, and etc. And all this information is extremely important, as we know that by using satellite, we're able to cover a wide range. And we need this ground truthing data to calibrate the satellite data in order for it to be more accurate. For example, these loggers, we are only able to look at just one single place. But with this remote sensing, we're able to look at the entire Sarawak or even larger area.
To ensure the highest accuracy, Professor Dr. Moritz and his team validate the Earth observation data through on-the-ground verification. This involves conducting in-situ measurements by physically visiting the water and mangrove areas to collect samples, take precise readings, and observe conditions firsthand. Today, Professor Dr. Moritz and his team will take us to a mangrove area at Santubong. The journey begins with a 20-minute boat ride from Telaga Air to the mangroves. Mangroves are vital for coastal protection, carbon storage, and biodiversity. However, they are under threat from rapid urbanization, increased aquaculture activities, and climate change.
Today we are going out into the field to do our ground truthing, so we need the data from the ground to correct our satellite data. And we are in Telaga Air today, so we're going to do some measurements on the water quality, going to collect some water samples. We're going to look for chlorophyll, which is important for fishery stock and primary production, and we're going to look for spectral signatures of the water and also from some trees. And then we're going to look at the loggers that we have installed to see if they're still functioning or if they need maintenance. Do we need to change the batteries, and make sure everything is running smoothly.
Saraqube is deeply committed to sustainability and protecting nature. For water quality measurement, they focus on monitoring chlorophyll levels, which is an indicator of algae growth and overall water health. By using Earth observation technology, they can assess chlorophyll concentrations in bodies of water, helping to detect issues like eutrophication, which can harm aquatic ecosystem. This data is vital for managing water resources and ensuring the health of marine and freshwater environments.
So we have arrived at our first station, and we're going to start with some basic water quality assessment. So we are going to drop this, and we're going to see if our water is nicely mixed or if it's all two different layers of fresh water and salt water. So we're going to drop this down and measure the conductivity and temperature. Yeah, we can see it's a very nicely mixed layer, so we only have to take one sample representing this water muddy. So take our water sample. Now we have our water sample, thank you, which we can take, so we can bring some samples back to the lab. Get them analyzed in the lab later on. So for some things we need the water to be cleaner, so you can put the filters through and we can clear the water from any contamination inside. We want to remove particular substances. We're looking for chlorophyll or for the sediment inside. We can put everything onto the filter.
On the other hand, to accurately map mangrove using remote sensing, Professor Dr. Moritz and his team begin by heading into the field with a portable spectrometer. This device allows them to capture spectral readings from various mangrove sites, essentially recording the unique light signatures reflected by the vegetation. These spectral readings are critical as they provide the necessary ground-based data to calibrate and validate satellite imagery.
So what we have done firstly is to collect in-situ data or groundwork data. So we use a portable spectroradiometer. We go to the ground, we collect spectral readings, and then from there we go back and analyze the spectral reading. And then we also integrate satellite data as well into our in-situ data. For our case, we use Landsat 8 or Sentinel-2. In our application, we use Open Data Cube platform. So just to share a bit more about Open Data Cube platform, it contains Python libraries, so it requires a bit of coding skills. And from there, from our in-situ data, we have developed our localized or regional model. So in this case, it's the mangrove mapping model. And we have also output This is the output of the model integrating with our Landsat 8 data. And here we also label or layer the above ground mangrove biomass for the case of Sabah. And we also look into mangrove loss area in Sarawak, where we have overlapped estimated aquaculture areas within the mangrove loss area in Sarawak.
Another powerful application of Earth observation technology is detecting plastic pollution. With the right tools, such as advanced satellites and high-resolution imaging, we can not only monitor current plastic accumulation, but also analyze data from past years to track trends and changes in pollution levels. This historical data helps scientists understand the long-term impacts of plastic on marine environments, informing more effective strategies for prevention and cleanup efforts.
Sometimes in science, we not only want to look at what's happening now, but we want to compare it to what has happened before. So one way we can do this is through this tool. So this tool allows us to punch the soil, which would give us soil that's deeper than the surface layer. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, you can imagine as things die or as soil piles up on the ground, the older layer will get pushed lower and lower. So now I'll demonstrate how to do it. So first, we try to punch it down, and then we pull it out. From this ring, we would have the soil of a certain depth. Now, we'll collect this soil and bring it back to the lab, where we will do tests on these soils, depending on what we're trying to find. If we're trying to find plastic, for example, or just to see the carbon content. So we'll take this, bring it back to the lab, and try to see how things were back then.
By analyzing specific wavelengths of light reflected from the Earth's surface, satellites can identify materials that have distinct spectral signatures, such as plastics. These technologies can detect plastic debris on water surface by distinguishing it from natural materials like vegetation or water. Drones and high-resolution satellite imagery are also used for more localized detection, allowing scientists to track plastic accumulation and movement over time, aiding in cleanup and prevention efforts.
So now in our world, one of the biggest problems that we are facing right now is plastic pollution. And one big problem with trying to solve plastic pollution is that we simply don't understand, or we don't know how much plastic we have in the environment. So one way we're trying to tackle with this is through the usage of drone technology. So using this drone technology, we'd be able to take multiple pictures from different angles of a certain area, and then we'll be using those pictures. We'll funnel it into, to make it into a 3D model, and through that 3D model, we will put it through a set of AI algorithms to help quantify the plastics. So now I will show you roughly how this process works. So firstly, we would have our drone, and then we will plan the plot of land that we are trying to take pictures of. And as you can see from the screen here, that the yellow line represents the path that the drone will take, and the area that we are taking is bounded by the 4 purple dots. Now, let's fly the drone.
The data gathered from Earth observation technology can significantly benefit organizations like WWF and forestry departments. It also supports long-term environmental planning by providing insights into pollution trends, helping these organizations develop effective strategies for protecting ecosystem. While this technology does have limitations, they are relatively minor and expected to diminish as advancement continue.
Anything that is optically sensible, so satellites cannot detect everything. You can't measure oxygen so far, so it has to be detectable by satellites. So it has to have a spectral signature. And if we go to the field, we have our own little instruments. We measure the spectra, and then we can use that to verify. If we can't measure it, then we can't detect it with the satellites. Yeah. So there are a few limitations, but it's quite small. There are more and more satellites in space. Every year there's 10, 20 new satellite projects. New satellites come into space monitoring greenhouse gas, monitoring land cover, monitoring water quality, water distribution, land elevation, and so on. There's a lot of development in space tech and a lot of data becoming available that is untouched so far.
Additionally, Saraqube, composed of a team of academicians and lecturers, is committed to nurturing young people's interest in technology and developing local talent in Sarawak. Their efforts align with the Sarawak government's agenda of not only developing young people, but also advancing sustainability goals and adapting to emerging technologies.
Well, the biggest hope, I think, is that Saraqube gets taken over by the students. So we are setting this up so that the future belongs to Sarawak. It's not for us to run. I think my other hope is that the data actually becomes used. So we are producing a lot of data which is usable for the state to develop sustainably. I come from a country where we don't have much forest left. Sarawak still has a lot of forest, for example, but I think the challenge is how to develop the state and how to develop it sustainably. And our data is, I think, very valuable to do this. So we can give you information about areas of high conservation value. We can give you information of areas with problems so you can improve. And I hope that it gets taken up and actually used. So I think our data is actionable, and I hope that that becomes the future, the next step of Saraqube, that our data actually becomes an action.
I would like to highlight about one of the notable spin-off from ASEC Tech Accelerator Program from Cohort 1, which is Saraqube Senior in Berhad. So their product is about Sarawak Data Cube, where they produce a multi-dimensional satellite data and machine learning to provide accurate data that can help to unlock the access of carbon intake and also other green products. So the team has been working closely with CSIRO Australia, and they even won top 3 CSIRO Australia Southeast Asia Climate Hackathon in 2020. They beat around 78 other teams internationally.
Saraqube is not only working on expanding their projects, but also beginning to gain international recognition for their innovations. As they continue to develop new initiatives and push the boundaries of technology, they recognize the crucial role of local support in achieving their goals. To maintain their momentum and maximize their impact, they are calling on the local community to join them in their journey, providing the necessary support to foster growth and sustainability in their efforts.
At the moment, we are mapping the mangroves for the whole state, for Sarawak and for Sabah. It's a project funded by the UK Foreign Office. So we are looking at the distribution of mangroves in Sarawak and Sabah over time since the 1980s. And we are also looking at the ecosystem services they provide, the protection from floods, the potential carbon value. So we are trying to assess how the mangroves are in Sarawak and Sabah and how they have changed over time in terms of existence and value for the society. Projects we are developing is on the biomass of trees. So we're looking at defining the biomass of individual trees. So we can look at standing volumes. So if you are an agricultural plantation, we can give you a detailed answer of how many trees you have, what kind of carbon you have stored in the trees, and where they are. So if you were to cut 100 of your trees, you would get this much carbon or this much wood from your plantation. So, and we are developing digital twin concepts. So you don't have to go into the field, but you can manage your farm from the comfort of your computer. Yeah. So that's the next step.
In closing, Saraqube's use of Earth observation technology stands as a shining example of how innovation can benefit nature and drive sustainability. Their dedication to harnessing technology for environmental good and fostering local talent makes them true heroes in the field. As they continue to expand their impact and gain global attention, their work exemplifies the promise of technology in addressing crucial environmental issues. Don't forget to mark your calendar for our next episode, where we'll be highlighting more future tech heroes who are paving the way for the next generation of innovators. Be sure to tune in.